Hello, my name's Candida Boys. Okay. Hello, my name's Candida Boys. I'm the creative director for the Manchester Day Parade. I've been lucky enough to be the creative director since the parade first was produced in 2010. This is actually our 5th year creating the Manchester Day Parade, and every year we have new surprises, new developments, and we continue to grow. It's a brilliant event. It's quite unique, I think, particularly in the Northwest, in that it's a large-scale community engagement project which brings maybe 90, 100 community groups from all over Manchester together in a project funded by Manchester City Council and produced by Walk the Plank on their behalf. And my role is to meet all the groups, or as many of them as I can manage, find out a little bit about them, find out what their interests are, find out how they respond to the theme every year, and then, having got that information, I sort of become a giant telephone exchange at that point, and I sort of connect up all these different community groups from all over Manchester, be they older people's groups, young youth groups, dance groups, I don't know, community groups from various sectors of the community, Asian groups, Chinese groups, you name it, everything, women's groups, LGF groups, the works. Anyway, having met all these groups, I then find the right artist who will work with them sympathetically, listen to their ideas and steer them through the process of creating work for the parade. Sometimes this means that our artists go out to groups and work locally in the community. Sometimes it means that we work here in the WOW workshop and the community groups come into us and work with our artists to create ever more extraordinary objects. What's wonderful is, although we have been going for 5 years, we continually add artists to our portfolio. Some artists started working with us 5 years ago, already had huge amounts of experience in carnival and outdoor arts. Some were students who were straight out of college, some of them were even people doing work experience or indeed volunteers from the community. 5 years on, most of those artists are still with us, and every year we introduce or meet more. For the second year, we're lucky enough to have a second project coexisting with Manchester Day Parade called Elevate. And Elevate is a project funded by the Arts Council and again secured and sourced by Manchester City Council and given to us to manage. And what that gives us is the joy of being able to run a training project in parallel with the main parade. Elevate gives us the opportunity to bring artists to the Northwest that we otherwise couldn't afford to work with, who are excellent exponents in their field, maybe with international experience, but working in a way perhaps that our local artists don't, or they're people who are from further afield that we couldn't afford to work with because we wouldn't be able to afford to pay their transport, as basic as that, under our normal circumstances. But what it gives us the opportunity to do is to have a trickle-down effect, and so we have these fantastic artists. This year we're working with Brian Tweddle from slightly nearer to home, who has a fantastic track record with large-scale mechanical and engineering art, backgrounded with Welfare State, and he's working with a younger artist, Hannah Roria Hansen, who has an interest in metalwork. That's a great opportunity for somebody that's already an exquisite maker in her own right to learn from a master about how to think outside the box and perhaps think on a bigger scale. We have shade makers, Paul McLaren, who is a fantastic exponent of carnival costume and carnival puppetry, and particularly sophisticated at making very lightweight structures. And we've teamed him up with a young artist called Chris Anderson, who has worked with us under the title No Eyed Theatre since he was a student. He's somebody I somebody I was introduced to when he was still in his final year at college, and we've supported him and invited him to work on the parade. This will be his fourth time working on the parade. And so it's great to give him the experience of working with a master with an international reputation. Our final Elevate artist is Mandy Dyke, who has got a fabulous career in all things processional and outdoor, works on an enormous scale, has great whimsy, and she's working with a young artist called Enya Costa, who again started life with us as a voluntary worker maybe 2 years ago. And so they're all engaging with existing community groups that we worked with before to make new work that we otherwise couldn't afford to do. But apart from these three fantastic artists, what Elevate gives us the opportunity to do is to run masterclasses, both talks so that people can learn about the journeys other artists have had, and also practical sessions where people can learn some of the skills and secrets of experienced makers in very specific fields. Without that, we've always done that kind of work within Manchester Day, but having Elevate gives us the opportunity to focus on it in more detail and really nurture people. And indeed, beyond Elevate, we go back to those same artists year in, and watch their development and carry on supporting them above and beyond Elevate. What's wonderful is that Manchester Day Parade is, and now Manchester Day, because we're into a new phase this year, Manchester Day gives us the opportunity to support young artists, middle-scale artists, and indeed senior artists in a sort of in a way that is unknown. It's very special, and it gives us the chance to revisit. It's a bit like having colonies of birds that come back to the same place to nest every year, and you're very keen on seeing which birds come back and how many young they have and how far they fly in the intervening years. And I hope that that this is not the 5th year and therefore perhaps the end of a journey, but the 5th year and the start of ever better and ever bigger things that we can do to carry on with training and to carry on making spectacular work in the North West.